I remember joining Dabur with a brand called Lal Tel. That's the
Yes, of
brand
course.
first. And Lal Tel is an old brand. It's an Ayurvedic baby massage oil, and it's known for its really strong good properties. I remember meeting mothers, and the mothers would massage their babies with Lal Tel, and really they would show their devotion and adulation to the brand, saying that this is the brand that works for my baby, right? And I remember creating my first campaign for Lal Tel, which was about mother narrating a story to her baby, and which came out of these consumer visits that I did. That normally there is a huge bond being created between a mother and a baby while the massage is happening. So
Yeah.
that I think emotion was captured in my first communication that I created for Dabur. Within health supplements, I think repositioning honey from a medicine to food was one of the things that we had done while I was in my stint. And the whole idea here was that honey used to be in either a medicine chest or as part of the temple where the puja is done. And we said that honey should become like an everyday food because it's health after all, and it's everyday health. So we created a campaign which was all about how you could use honey in different ways, including putting it on your toast and putting it in your milk or taking it with water early in the morning. So I think the whole repositioning of honey worked very well, and honey is a brand which is now over 500 crores, doing very well for us. Seen as an everyday product rather than a curative product which was lying in the medicine chest to be taken out only when you had a cough. That was the earlier positioning. Now the new positioning is all about everyday consumption of honey in different forms, right?
So I was just trying to delve deeper into this context that you brought up recently. And how do you differentiate between a metro and a mini metro? What are the different media strategies or customer segmentation strategies do you use from a Dabur point of view to drive insights and then drive specific campaigns or marketing initiatives?
Yeah, Neeraj, I think you've talked about how we are reaching out to tier two, tier three towns. So traditionally, in fact, Neeraj, Dabur has been is a company, is a brand which is very close to tier two, tier three towns. I think more than metros. I think our traction, a large traction, comes from rural and tier two, tier three towns, and therefore it becomes extremely important for us to be able to communicate effectively with these consumers. So apart from the ATL television print advertising, which we anyway do, we do a whole lot of on-ground consumer engagement, right? So for example, you would see Dabur participating in all kinds of melas, right?
Mm.
So be it the Chandi Mela, be it the Chitrakoot Mela, Sonpur Mela, Pandarpur Mela, across various markets within India, we make sure that Dabur's presence is there, both in terms of uh, the huge kiosks that we set up and a whole lot of large scale sampling that we do, right?
Mm. Mm.
Um, and also, what we started doing is that in addition to on ground engagement, we make communication which is relevant to those markets, taking the local nuances, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
typically, like in a Nauchandi Mela, we had this Pudinhara big standee that we had created, right? And then we created a communication about how a boy and girl meets in the Mela and how basically a good stomach health helps you enjoy life, right?
Mm.
So the line was मुझे ठंडा ठंडा कर दे पुदीना बन के,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So in
Mm.
this heat, when you're
Mm.
out in the mela, when it's sweltering weather
Mm.
outside, how Pudinhara keeps you healthy and hygiene, how it keeps your stomach healthy, and which is why you can enjoy life, right?
Yeah.
So we try and capture the local nuances. We in Kolkata, for example, we talked about how you could have sweets with honey in it rather than sugar. So the local nuances is what we try and capture, and we try and create communication which is adapted to the vernacular and local preferences, right?
Mm. Mm.
Uh, and the same is true for tier two and tier three towns. How do we get the sense of what is rural India, what is the middle India, and try and capture it both in our communication and try and connect with consumers on the ground by being physically present there.
An important part in all of this is one is the content of the communication, the other is the delivery mechanism. And then how do you make those choices of how do you reach out to tier 2 and tier 3 cities from a media mix point of view?
So, interestingly, Neeraj, television itself offers us a good amount of reach. Television now, has about a 75% reach all over India. Of course, Bihar and UP still lag a little behind. But what we do is that we ensure that our presence is there in local channels, right? So if there is a channel which is appearing at the top, so we go into state-wise and town class-wise and see the ranking of channels there. We try and ensure our presence is there in the local channels, in the
Mm.
local vernacular language. That's
Okay.
number one.
Mm.
Number two, we try and also look at print. Print has many sub editions, which cater to different districts, different towns, and our Dabur's presence is there across the various editions of newspapers, right?
Okay.
And number three, like I said, that on-ground engagement, that's an extremely important part of our overall mix. We are, Dabur is physically there, be it in terms of branding of dealer boards, right? Or you would even see the auto branding, so the autos that run, or the buses that run from one district to the other, the interstate buses. You will see our branding is there. That's number three. Number four, we all still believe in the power of wall paintings. Wall paintings has been something which has been a part of our mix for many years. And for some reason, I think some companies started feeling that wall paintings were not required given that TV had good reach. But not for us. For us, wall paintings is an extremely important area of communication because we feel that's the way we can connect with the rural audience and the ones who are, moving out as part of the regular routine. Right? So wall paintings is number four. And then we do number five, we do a whole lot of these so-called sellout activities, which is at the wholesale mandis, right? Where we set up again our kiosks and for the smaller जो दुकानदार गांव से आते हैं towards cities to buy stock, we set up our kiosks and we sell out our products through either
Mm.
discounts or through pamphlets, communicate about the benefits of the product, and engage with the smaller retailers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's broadly what the mix is.
So, what role is digital and the influencer marketing playing for Dabur in trying to create regionalized content? How do you create more regionalized campaigns, more localized campaigns using digital?
Yeah, so you're right. I mean, digital allows us to, let's say, target in a hyper local way,
Yeah.
right? And what is extremely important for us is to capture the local nuances, like I said earlier. What we've done, I think, to begin with, Neeraj, I must talk about this, that we've set up some sort of an ecosystem where we have, now so-called local agencies. So there is an agency who's sitting in Hyderabad, there's an agency sitting in Bangalore,
Okay.
agency sitting in Kolkata, somewhere in Bihar, and again similarly in West. So we've basically tied up with some local agencies. They are the ones who have all the local insights, right?
Yeah.
So we work very closely with them to create content which is, a capturing the local insights, b in the language which is understood by the
Correct.
local consumer. So the local dialect, I think, becomes extremely important. That's number one. So the ecosystem helps us work better. Number two, also what these agencies do is they help us identify the influencers. The influencers were strong within the regions. So we've tied up with influencers. So I must say that last year, for example, we tied up with some 500 influencers. We created about 200 pieces of video content along with these influencers. And we were able to reach out to a large population simply because of the organic following of these
Fantastic.
influencers, right? And then also we have a robust research process. So we try and through local agencies do a lot of consumer insighting, and therefore we are able to gauge consumer insights through these local research agency network as well. Apart from the content creation agency network, we also have a local research agency network. So all of these combined together give us, great leverage to be able to understand insights and create content accordingly, right?
Great.
So
Great.
let me give you an example, and so that you're able to relate to what I'm saying. And this is not well. This is a couple of years back, but it worked very well for us, and I must talk about it. So Amla hair oil, right? And it's a
Yeah.
large brand, and it's always stood for this Ghane Mulayam Bal. And if you go
Yeah.
back to Juhi Chawla and Sri Devi communication,
Yeah.
you will remember
Absolutely.
as stood
Yeah.
for, strong hair.
Yeah.
And when we went down south, we understood that it was not really uh, strong hair, which was, of course, that was a requirement. It was hygiene, but it was not something which is very aspirational. What was
Yeah.
aspirational in South was having black hair. So
Mm.
black was a symbol of beauty, right? And so the consumer said, for me, black is synonymous to beauty. So we said, how do we repurpose our communication to now talk to these people who are residing in South? And the South is a strong coconut market, right?
Yeah.
And then we tested out our product and we found that it delivered on blackness of hair, which is when we created a communication which was about black hair
Mm.
for
Mm.
South India, right?
Mm.
And it did very well for us because that's what people desire, and we were able to communicate that effectively through our product. And the product got traction. So Amla is traditionally a very Hindi-built market, Hindi-built product, but it drew a lot of traction through this communication.
Yeah.
So these local insights is something that we work on and try and create then communication which appeals to the local people. Well, we've done some work around that. I think there's still a long way to go. But what we do have, for example, is that all the activations that we do, we try and capture consumer data, right? And
Okay.
therefore, wherever possible, we have a repository of consumer data in terms of their mobile numbers and their email IDs. Is something that we have. To begin with, that's one source of data. Number two is we have this our website, which is Dabur.com, where we get a lot of traffic, right? And many a times when we have this program running, which is called free sampling, and when you register for a sample, you tend to give your details, right? So that's the second source of data for us, right? Then the third is all the digital campaigns that we've done, right? So what Google allows us to do is people who have shown some sort of inclination for Dabur products or Dabur communication, we are
Mm.
able to, well, Google doesn't share the data with us, but Google helps us retarget, those consumers.
Yeah.
So somebody who would have seen let's say a red toothpaste ad and has seen it from beginning to end is possibly a person who's inclined towards Ayurveda, who has some inclination towards Dabur red toothpaste. And what Google allows me to do is to retarget these people effectively with my communication, right?
Yeah.
So at least with the first two sources of data where we have email IDs, we try and do emailer campaigns, right? So pretty much we communicate effectively with them. We let them know about the free offers that are available, and some of the campaigns we mail across to them. So that's something that we do regularly. Um, but I think we still need to have a stronger, robust data to be able to leverage it. We also work very closely, Neeraj, with the e-commerce platforms. So
Yeah.
again, e-commerce has become an important engine of growth, right?
Yeah.
As we speak, e-commerce is now contributing to about 5 to 6% of our overall sale, which is higher than I think industry average. And here again, we try and work very closely with the e-commerce platforms to understand the basket purchase behavior of different consumers, and we try and therefore mix offerings in a way that we are able to present what is really required by the consumer. So, for example, if somebody has a basket which has a Sani Fresh and an Odonil, right? Or I know that this person buys a Sani Fresh, has not bought an Odonil, I'll try and create a virtual mix, to allow Odonil to penetrate into that household, right? So these are the kind of combos that we try and create basis after understanding the consumer basket, and effectively then target them through our banner campaigns, through our CPC campaigns with the e-commerce platforms. So that's what we've been doing, Neeraj. I mean, yeah, some progress, but I would say that there is still some way to go here.